It's very philosophical in a way.
Yeah, deep and dark questions.
It's only 4 stanzas, but it keeps you like thinking, right? It's not like, oh, I've read it, okay, I understand. No, you keep thinking about it and thinking about it.
You
and
made
it's
it
difficult.
intentionally very philosophic, I think.
Depends on which mood you are when you read this, and then you will get another interpretation.
The world and I, neither being secretly lost in both, are both openly found in neither. The world and I, neither being aimlessly sad in both, are both willfully gay in neither. The world and I, neither being certainly no in both, are both doubtingly yes in neither. The world and I, neither being humanly sick in both, are both socially sane in neither.
I feel like it's a person trying to discover himself and somehow being lost in the process. It's a bond that's getting stronger by the day. The more you learn, the more you understand, the more your relationship with the world gets better.
The relationship between me and the world is also sometimes a little bit confusing. Most of the time I think that I kind of understand what is going on, but then I quickly realize that sometimes my assumptions or the way I see the world are not the whole truth. So in that sense I can see the world reflected in me and myself being also reflected in the world, but there is still some missing connection, missing line.
Searching the world in yourself and searching yourself in the world, identification.
Not everything about the world is good, but I came to peace with the world. I can live with the world.
You and the world are kind of like the same, because you have like the same like struggles, and yeah, I think that I am lost in the world and the world itself is lost too.
The world is crazy, and my relationship with it, I'm just living in it and just trying to survive in this relationship. It can be a quite abusive relationship between the world and I, but you know, you still want to go back. So I'm kind of like in an abusive relationship with the world.
I see myself as a participant in the world, but also there's a lot of humanity within one person, I suppose.
I feel like thinking about the whole world and the whole world order in a different way. I feel stuck between 2 places at a time, between 2 chairs. I don't really know if I have to go left or right, if I'm wrong or right.
It's hard sometimes to keep up hope, because for me you hear more bad things than good things, and you experience more bad things that are gonna stay with you, and it's hard to appreciate the good moments you have and like put it into the bad world we live in.
With the world, it's a little bit complicated as well, because the more you get to know about what's going on in the world, the less hope you have, and the more negative news you hear every day, like flooding, earthquakes, people dying, people in poverty, the more sad you get, because you can't really change anything about it, you can't really do anything, you're just here learning about it.
Or at least you think you can't change anything, because it's so hard. You need to make such a hard effort to just change one small bit.
Yeah.
The world and I, neither being secretly lost in both, are both openly found in neither. I don't know, I think that's the most powerful line in the whole thing. I can't really explain into words why, but I feel like as soon as I see that line that I want to read the rest of this.
Sometimes you don't know where your place is in the world, and you might feel lost, and still you're part of the world. And
the world and I, neither being certainly no in both, or both doubtingly yes in neither. You can absolutely be everything, or you can feel nothing in this world.
The second one, the world and I, neither being aimlessly sad in both, are both willfully gay in neither. Basically, it's just about the moment that I could grasp and find real happiness, and realize that anything that I see around me, it's all upon my own interpretation to give them a sad or happy meaning. So if I'm always happy inside, I can generate that to all of my surroundings.
Being aimlessly sad, willfully gay in neither. It's like, oh, okay, are they exactly the same, or are they different? Like, what's like you hear the thing like your glass is half full, half empty.
Neither being humanly sick in both are both socially sane in neither. The society is setting some kind of standards, like patterns, how you should like behave and how you should feel about certain circumstances. And if you don't feel like this, you don't feel like part of like the bigger picture, and you feel kind of alone, then you will be like feel insane or sane. And
maybe a social awkward person, you know, that has sometimes difficulty to relate to other humans. I kind of identify myself in this. I don't know if it is for the world that we live in, or I mean with the technology, or myself alone, or both, that sometimes it feels that this connection is lost.
Neither being humanly sick in both are both socially sane in neither.
Yeah, what is being sick or sane? Like,
Yes.
who's gonna tell?
What does it mean to be humanly sick?
I think like the world and I neither being aimlessly sad in both, because I always have the feeling that kind of like everyone is sort of sad, and I don't know, I think that every person has like some kind of sadness inside them. So yeah, I just finished high school and now I have like too many possibilities what to do with my life, and I think it's kind of terrifying not to know what to do and not to know which is the right thing to do, and that's why I'm sad.
The world and I, neither being secretly lost in both, or both openly found in neither. The world and I, neither being aimlessly sad in both, or both willfully gay in neither. The world and I, neither being certainly no in both, or both doubtingly yes in neither. The world and I, neither being humanely sick in both, or both socially sane in neither.
A moment in my life that I could grasp that gave me a certain freedom in life, basically the detachment of myself with materials in the world and my belongings around me, and identifying ourselves with nothing. I don't need to identify myself with a location, with a certain time, with certain people, with a certain aroma in the air. The world around me has no meaning without me, because it's all a reflection of my imaginations, it's all a reflection of my understandings.
It made me reflect about me and the relationship with the world.
questioning where I am, how I feel, and it really reminds me also a little bit of Stoicism.
The Forrest Gump movie, I especially because he's like part of the world and he tries to be as part of it as much as he can, but not everyone accepts it.
It reminds me of a book by Alan Watts. It's called The Wisdom of Insecurity.
The poem reminds me of Hermann Hesse. He of course talks about 1,000 faces, 1,000 persons who live in himself.
1984 by George Orwell. I don't know the complication in it and the vibe it gives you.
Yeah. Because nothing is just one thing, it always has two sides.
Yeah.
If it's a good thing, it has a bad side as well. If there's so much bad stuff, it always has a good side as well.
Yeah.
Something can either be yes and no, white or black, full or empty.
I feel a little bit lost and found in like at the same time, like not feeling at home. When you are at home, that's sometimes, you know, mind flies away. It's free spirit. I feel like when you get used to the idea that you don't know anything, you don't know anything. Like the only thing I don't know anything. Like a death of a loved one, or like from the smallest thing to the biggest thing. Once you accept that you cannot control everything, just focus on the things that you can control, then you will go forward.
It is deep and light. I don't get a heavy feeling after reading it.
Well, it has a structure of repetition, so with each stanza you're being like reminded of this comparison between the world and I, and then kind of the juxtaposition between, for the first one, the secretly lost versus openly found, so kind of representing opposites in that sense.
The world and I, comma, neither being secretly lost in both, so that's kind of like the world and I are both openly found in neither, to me is the full sentence, and then you have the in between, which is the neither being secretly lost in both. You don't necessarily need the middle, but it helps you understand the whole sentence.
It's minimalism, it's less over more. You use antithesis in every strophe.
Two opposites combined in one sentence. neither and both, these two words are used like in every sentence.
Yes.
Like it starts always with neither and then it continues with both, and that's like
gives you the opposite.
and also ends with neither.
Oh,
so you see
every
how the
sentence-
poet is using it to distract you from the two opposites of the sentence.
It feels like you're reading the same thing, but
In the
every single
opposites,
time
yeah.
with a different meaning.
Well, yeah, it seems like it's like oxymorons. It's kind of what I was just saying, like silent laughter. You know, two things that don't necessarily go together. People say like happy sadness. You know, there's something about it that's, you know, you're sad, but it's in a happy way. It's kind of like bittersweet. So I kind of like, that's how I'm trying to.
It has a specific harmony.
Very abstract in a way. Yeah, paradox.
Yeah, it's very contradictory, but at the same time there is always truth in it.
So here I see an image reflected of, it looks like a figure, and it almost looks like the figure's face is feeling some kind of emotions. Because when you read the poem, you're kind of reflecting on yourself and how you fit in the world, and then in this picture it's a vision of self-reflection. Reminds me of the prints that they show when you're in a therapy session or something to try and kind of interpret what the photo is.
The person in this picture seems confused, doubtful of himself, doesn't really know where he stands, and you see the bothness of the picture and of the poem. It connects very well.
Duality that I felt while reading the poem as well. Soft and hard at the same time because it's so much black, and you just have the fine lines of white, but you like immediately know what it shall be, or at least that it's some kind of person.
Yeah. And you have a clear structure, but still it's kind of confusing. So you have the mixture of clearness and the confusion that's inside the poem.
There are two entities that are apart from each other. Although they look exactly the same, they are not the same.
Transparent, it feels bold, it's speaking out without any fear. Kind of horrific picture for someone that is in denial with himself to look at, but for someone that is brave enough to see his own truth.
One side is missing, so maybe it's correlated to something in the poem, like that he's been lost and found at the same time. Could be in one-liner. I like the lack of details.
It is symbolic. Again, we can talk about antithesis. We can talk about I and the copy of I, me in my eyes, me in the eyes of the world in my eyes, smoky, shady.
It's like it's neither one thing nor the other, but yet they're both, but then they're not both. The picture is an oxymoron in itself. The psychiatrist shows you like this picture, you don't know necessarily what it is, you have to describe what the picture looks like to you, and it can look like to someone totally different, but you can still see everything you need to see and make a judgment based on that.
I also feel intellectually challenged to read something that is not so easy to grasp on the first time, and then you need to dig a little bit, and every time that you read, you get a different meaning or you find something else hidden.